Are you looking to join a new band or new creative project? We're looking at a few things for you to keep in mind today on the podcast that will help you better your chances to get the gig that you want. We'll see you on the inside. What's going on, everybody? This is Mike. You're here at the Songwriters Podcast today. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Again, if you're visiting us for the first time, I'd like to welcome all the new-time visitors. The first-time visitors, a special thank you for taking a chance on this podcast. I really appreciate that. And if you are here, a returning visitor, thank you again as well for coming back and checking out the podcast. As I always say, every time I really enjoy doing these with you guys. It really gives me a chance to collect my thoughts and share information with you folks on the things of the musical realm of today. And also, I love getting feedback from you guys on what you guys think about these topics that we talk about here on the podcast. I love being able to discuss with you guys on the things that I find out there in the music industry today. And the challenges that we face as artists, being that we're in a do-it-yourself world now, which is great. I love that. But there are so many aspects now of being a musician and getting recognized and building a career that it's really cool to tackle these issues one by one and discuss them with you guys and get your feedback and you can tell me what you think. So that's what this podcast is all about. And I really appreciate it. Again, as I say, as much as possible, I'd like to say that. My name is Mike. I am the creator of the Songwriters Planner. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, it's a 6-month planner, written planner. Here it is. And if you're on podcast, I always say this. I'm holding it in my hand. Please check it out. It is a 6-month written planner specifically for musicians, artists, to help us be more productive, be inspired, and be creative, and just be more excited about creating music and getting your music heard. That's really what it is. It's a tool for that. So if you get a chance to check it out, it's at www.songwritersplanner.com. I got other websites stuck in my head. So today's podcast, if you checked out the intro, we are talking about auditioning or trying to get a gig with a new band. If you're joining a new band or if you're auditioning for a band, we're talking about some things to keep in mind here that will better your chances to get the gig that you really want. I've been doing a bunch of podcasts lately about things like marketing and promotion and things like that, which I really think is important, that I'm really fascinated with. But for today's podcast, I wanted to bring it back down to something more organic, which is what we've all kind of faced at one point or another as musicians, auditioning for a band or auditioning for a new project, or maybe even just like sitting down with someone to collaborate with that you've never worked with before, and you're testing it out. You're seeing where the chemistry is. It can be a very, very, I would say, hectic thing to think about. It's intimidating sometimes if you're going into a new situation. You kind of don't know what to think. You don't know the people that you're auditioning with or you're trying to get a gig with, and it can be really, really intimidating. I know I felt like that when on my numerous gigs that I've auditioned for. It's kind of weird because you're going in, you're meeting the people for the first time. You don't know how much they know of you, and you don't know if you're going to be able to get the gig. There's just so many aspects to auditioning for a project or a band that I wanted to talk about today because hopefully I can share some of the experiences that I've had when I've gone and auditioned for bands, and and I'd love to hear what your experiences that you've had auditioning for projects as well. So you can always hit me up in the comments there. And but yeah, it can be a nerve-wracking situation, especially if you really, really want the gig. You can kind of psych yourself out. You know what I mean? You can be like, oh my God, I really want this gig. I hope I don't blow it. I hope, my self-confidence is really shaky right now because I just don't know how this is going to go. You don't know how you're going to be auditioning. So there's just so many aspects to this part of our industry, this part of what we do as musicians, that I wanted to dedicate the podcast to that today. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So I definitely love sharing stories that the experiences I've had. And I've been to quite a few auditions, and some of them were great, some of them were not so great. But that's just the way it goes, If you want to get yourself out there, then you got to go and you got to audition. You got to do that first step. If you're not starting your own band, obviously, this is specifically for people who are joining other projects, things to think about and to keep in mind today, okay? So that's what we're talking about. Let's talk about a few ways how you can find out about a new gig or a new audition. You have, obviously, word of mouth is a real big way to get to find out what's going on. If you're looking for a new band, putting it out there, having you go out there and you talk to people, go out in the scene and be like, hey, you know anybody who needs a guitar player or looking for a guitar player, talk with people. It's a really, really grassroots kind of way to find out about new gigs. You can go to the club and maybe strike up a conversation with the sound guy, because I guarantee you the sound guy knows a lot of bands that come through a club or a venue. It's always good to have good conversations with sound guys because they know a lot of bands. Talk to the other bands that are playing. Just talk to people. Network. That's a great way to find out about projects that may need a guitar player, bass player, drummer, singer, whatever. Obviously, Craigslist online, word of mouth online is super important today. Craigslist can be somewhat challenging sometimes, but at the same time, it is a great way to get your question out. Hey, looking for a band, or you can scroll through the Craigslist ads every day and say like, oh, this band's looking for this band's looking for this. I did an earlier podcast. I can't remember what episode it was. It was one of my first podcasts, earlier ones, where I talked about the challenge of posting ads on Craigslist, and a good ad and a bad ad. So if you get a chance, check that one out. But Craigslist is definitely another way. Even social media, going on Facebook and just hitting up, posting online. Hey, I'm looking for a new project. Does anybody know anybody who needs so-and-so? That's a great way to do it. Just basically the main thing is just put it out there and have it be known that you are actually looking for a new project. Okay. Those are the best ways to do it. Okay. So let's say you get involved with a project and someone gets back to you, or you find out that, oh, someone needs a new drummer, and you finally make that first contact, right? How does that go? Via email, via phone, any way possible, obviously. What you want to do is find out as much as you can about the project. Is it a solo project for someone? Is it a brand new band? Is it an existing band? Is it, a duo? Find out as much as you can. Be nice, be friendly, but find out as much as you can about it. And also make sure that you have content and material ready for you to send over to them, for them to check you out, like videos, YouTube videos, music, pictures. Make sure that you have your content ready for anyone to contact you. Usually what I do is I would have like just a notepad, all the URLs of videos that I would pass out, all the URLs of like some SoundCloud links of stuff that I played on. Just have it ready to go so you don't have to think about it when someone contacts you. So you get contacted and you start talking to people. Find out as much as you can about that project, because you want to know going into an audition, what exactly you're getting into. You really want to know about that, because what you're really doing is you're committing your time and your energy into a new project. So you want to make sure it's something that really interests you, whether it's for financial reasons, whether you're joining a band, a good working band. You want to make sure that you know as much as possible about it. Or are you joining like an original project where, these guys write original music? Like, find out as much as you can. And to do that, do your research. Go online, ask the person you're talking to about it. Hey, where can I go to check more out on you guys? What can I look at? Do you have any songs that you can send over? Just all of that stuff. It's all important, because the more you know, the better off you're going to be walking into a cold situation where you don't know anything. Just educate yourself on what kind of project you're going into. And notice I didn't mention learn the songs yet, because obviously they're going to want you to know a few songs of theirs, or maybe some cover songs or something. I'm just assuming that we're going to talk about that here in a bit, but you're going to have to know those songs. But aside from that, try to find out as much as you can about the project. Is there a history to the band? Is there a history to the person you're talking to that you can go check out? It's just really knowledgeable and useful for you, and gives you a better advantage going into the audition if you just know as much as you can. Sometimes, like when I was looking into bands back in the day when I was auditioning, I mean, I would find out, I would go back to even previous bands that some of the members had been in, just so I could find the lineage of how things came together, especially if it was a real band that I really wanted to be a part of. It doesn't hurt to take that research and to look into that stuff. So that would be one of the important things I would consider doing when you finally make contact with someone that you may be potentially auditioning for, is to just to find out that history and find out as much as you can. Okay. Now let's talk about learning your audition songs. Oh man, and this one is this aspect of it is personal for me, because I've been in many auditions where I've been auditioning someone else, and they come in and if you don't know the songs, you might as well just shoot yourself in the foot, because it's like, why you're here to audition for this band, why would you not take the time to learn the songs, especially if the songs are an original project, because now you're learning someone else's songs that they wrote in the band themselves or in the project themselves. So super important to make sure you take the time to learn the songs as much as possible. Now, people are different. Some people will throw 2 songs at you. Some people will throw 6 songs. Some people throw 10 songs. 10 songs is a lot to learn if you only have a short period of time. But if you get that many songs to learn, just say, hey, which one should I really focus on to make sure I have down? It's really good idea to ask. Just make sure, but hey, that's a lot of songs. I think I can learn them all, but which ones do you really want me to focus on? So when you get those songs, those list of songs, make sure you learn them inside and out. Load them into your phone, load them into your laptop, load them. Make sure you listen to them in your car when you're driving to work. Just keep listening to them. So where it just becomes second nature. At least you know the format of the song. You obviously, if you play guitar or bass or keyboards, you're going to have to sit down and actually learn the chords, learn the notes and everything like that. That's going to require you to sit down and actually do that. But you can also listen to these songs while you're doing other things, because then it basically osmoses into your head. That's just a term that I just used now, by the way. It just sinks into your mind, And as a drummer, I just listen to songs over and over again. For me, it's 50% mental and 50% physical. I know if I know what's going on mentally and I know the song, I can usually play it, translate that to actually playing it pretty quickly. But it just depends on what kind of song it is and how much work I've put into listening to it. For vocalists, maybe writing the lyrics down on your own. Writing is a really strong tool for memory. Of course, I'm going to say that, believe me, but rewriting the lyrics down on a piece of paper can really help with your memory and can help you remember lyrics and remember words and what comes after another, as opposed to just listening to them and reading them off of paper. If you write them down yourself, then you're translating that into your long-term memory a lot more efficiently. So that might be something to think about when you're trying to learn a song. Especially someone else's song that you don't know. It's not a cover song and you just don't know it. So brand new songs. So super important. Make sure you just learn the songs the best you can with the amount of time that you have, so that you can be the best prepared when you walk into that room. Okay. Can't stress that enough, because it's a really bad impression if you don't know the songs well. And you will just be completely overlooked. They'll be like, well, this person didn't even take enough time to learn our song. So I don't know, probably not a good candidate. Okay. All right. So now you got the songs learned, you've done your research, you got a time set up to go to the audition. Make sure you get there on time. I can't stress that one enough. Make sure you get there on time. Make sure you get there early if you can. That just leaves a good taste in people's mouths when you show up and you respect other people's time. Make sure you get there on time. Make sure you're ready to go. If you need to bring equipment, make sure you got it ready to go and unload it. Get it ready, set up as fast as possible. Which leads me into, once you get into the audition space, wherever you're at, if you play an instrument and you have to bring anything, make sure you got all that stuff and you bring it in and you set up as fast as you can. Because chances are they might be auditioning someone else before you and someone else after you. So you want to be as quick and easy as possible and not make it inconvenient for them. If you play drums, if you have to bring your own drum kit, make sure you're pretty snappy with that. Most times if you're a drummer, most times people will have a drum kit there. So just make sure that you get set up and get comfortable and get the kit kind of the way you like it, at least somewhat. Obviously, if you're a vocalist, you've got it a lot easier than the rest of us. I'm so jealous of vocalists. I wish I could do that. But so, the important thing is to make sure you get there on time, make sure you connect with the people that you're going to be auditioning for. And if you have gear to set up, make sure you get that set up as quick as possible and just be as low key as possible and respect their time, because they probably have been auditioning people before you, and it could have been a long day for them. You just never know what the situation is. So just always be courteous, on time, and respectful of their time. Cool? Okay. So once you get there, you're set up, be friendly, be cool, be flexible as to what they want you to do. If you really want to work with these people or you're really trying to get this audition, just be really flexible, because you don't know where they're coming from yet. You may not know them. You just don't know what that situation is. And just be super flexible on what their suggestions are. Make sure you know the material, which we've already talked about that. If you do know the songs very well, it really does cut down on the amount of stress when you actually get into the room and you start playing these songs or going through these songs or singing these songs with them. It really makes it easier to get through that audition if you really know the material. That's one less thing you have to worry about. Okay. But yeah, be friendly with the people that are there. Be really cool. You want to be memorable, but you don't want to be memorable in a bad way. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to over talk everybody's heads off, or you just want to be memorable, but you want to be smooth about it. And then when it's time to play those songs, just kill it. Get up there and do what you rehearsed, do what you auditioned. If you make mistakes, don't worry about it. Every audition I've ever been to or band I've joined, I've made mistakes at the audition, and you know what? It's really not that big of a deal for the most part on your first audition, because you can't be expected to be perfect. That kind of stuff only comes if you've been playing with people for a while and you're very, very familiar with the material. So don't sweat mistakes. Try to minimize them, obviously, but don't sweat it if you don't hit a note, or you don't do a bend here, or you play the wrong notes on a song every now and then. Don't worry about it. Just do your best, get through it, and just be excited about being there and be energized to be playing it, to be playing the music that they're whatever kind of genre is going through. Okay. Just some really cool things to remember. So after the audition's over, you've nailed your songs, you've run through them. At that point, it could go from anywhere. You could get offered the gig right there. If you're great, they could say, all right, thanks, but no thanks. They could say, hey, we want to bring you back for another audition. Depending on how things go, it could go many ways. So the important thing to remember is just to be cool about all of it. If they realize that you're not the guy and they politely tell you right then and there, then just be cool about it, and accept it for what it is. Accept the experience for what it is. And that's the way it's going to go. But if they do want you to either maybe come back for another audition, just be really thankful for that and say thanks. And especially if you enjoyed the experience yourself, it's really important to just be cool about saying thank you about that. I would also suggest too, if it works out and if you feel the situation out, go ahead and hang for just a little bit. Hang for an extra 15 minutes if they have the time. And if things look like it's going well, just hang for a little bit and say, hey, I've been listening to you guys, talk about some of the history with the people in the band. Find out a little bit more about who they are, what they do. Do they have jobs? Do they, where they're from? What's their background? Finding new band members is not just about the playing ability. That is a big important aspect of it. As obviously, you got to know what you're doing. You got to fit right. But I swear to God, and you guys could probably agree with me on this, you people out there who've gone on auditions and joined bands, A huge part of playing with other people in projects is the hang. It's just straight up, are you a cool person? Are you a non-dramatic person? What are you bringing to the table that is going to be add to what their operation is already? That's not your playing, because ultimately you're going to be, if you do get a gig, you're going to be playing with these people and seeing these people quite often. And it's so important to make sure that you just get along with everybody. That I think people who aren't in bands and who aren't artists and musicians don't realize and don't understand that aspect of artistry and playing music, is that the music side is one thing. The hang is a completely other thing. I mean, how can you hang with people? And when I say hang, I mean basically just like hang out and talk, and if there's a beer, and drink a beer, say hi, or maybe hanging out and going and checking out another show with them. What do you do when you're not playing together? Just that quick hang is so important, and it literally keeps bands together or determines if bands are going to break up. So when you audition for a new project, just try to get a sense of what that hang is like. And if they're in a rush and they say, hey, okay, thanks for coming by, we're going to talk to you later. You know what? Cool. Get your stuff, get out, and check in with them in a day or two. Not every situation is going to be open to you hanging out and talking. That's cool. That's totally cool. It's always going to be something new. Okay. So yeah, that would be the steps of the audition that you could maybe just start thinking about if you're going into it. And at the end of it, just say thank you for the opportunity, guys. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys like what you heard, and they may be cool and there may not be, but either way, the important thing is here is that if it doesn't work out, if your audition doesn't work out, or they just don't like you, or they just realize, it's maybe not a proper fit, which is okay too, then at least what you've done is you put yourself out there, you've auditioned for a new project, right? You've gotten your name out there, and who knows, like it could lead to something else. It could lead to a new opportunity. Someone in the project might remember you and go, oh yeah, there's this person that came down and sang and he or she killed it, or this person came down with their guitar and they were great, but it just wasn't a right fit for that project. But this person might be good for this project. That is such a golden opportunity to have a good reference. Just because one audition didn't work out doesn't mean that you may not get suggested for another project. That's why it's so important to just be cool at the audition and just hang out, and don't make a big scene about things, because the ones who are memorable are the ones who just kind of sit in the cut and are really cool and learn the material. We're solid players, really cool to hang out with. But even if it didn't work out, you will be remembered. I can't imagine, or I can't stress enough how many times I've had that situation where I would be like, oh, this person that auditioned for this project would be cool for this one, or this band's looking for a project. This band's looking for a guitar player. I know a guy. It's such a word of mouth community that we live in. So don't get down on yourself if it doesn't work out. It could lead to more opportunities. And you can also say, sorry it didn't work out. Just let me know if you ever need another shot, or if you ever need any references. Just be really nice and really cool about it all. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of like the basics of auditioning I wanted to talk about today. Kind of went through, from start to finish, finding out a few things beforehand with the band, making sure that you have your parts memorized, make sure you have it all down, make sure that you're on time, make sure that you plug in and set up or get ready quickly. Don't waste people's time. And then when it's time to play, make sure you kill it out there, do what you came to do. And then after it's all done, say thank you for the opportunity. If you get a chance to hang with them for a little while, that's cool. But if not, do a swift outro, and there you go. That's the perfect audition. Okay. So yeah, don't get down on yourselves. If it doesn't work out, I'm here to tell you it could lead to other things. Okay, guys. So that's what I wanted to talk about on the podcast today. I hope that you found some value in it. And if you're in this situation where you're starting to look for another bands and audition for other projects, just a little something to keep in mind so that you have a little bit of knowledge as to what you're getting into and what makes a really good audition. Okay, guys. Thanks again for joining me on this podcast. I really appreciate it. I believe this is coming out on the week of Thanksgiving, so I wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm thankful for you guys checking out this podcast, and I hope that you guys have an amazing Thanksgiving with your families. Here's the season to be creative and productive and inspired. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next podcast. Peace and love.